नमस्ते मेहराज जी, कैसे हो आप?
बिल्कुल ठीक. आप कैसे हैं?
Superb, superb. Can you please explain about your activities and your profile to our viewers?
I'm engineer Mehraj Malik, a computer engineer by profession, and have been working on ground here since almost a decade now. I work as a educationist. I work as a social activist. छोटे social issues से लेके nationalistic issues तक, we talk on to the people. We talk with the youngsters. We speak with the youngsters in formal lectures as well as in a lot of informal lectures, where we interact with the kids, where we try to teach them about the idea of India, about how much love the people of India across our country have for the Kashmiri people, and we try to discuss all the negative things also with them, and all the negative thoughts which they have, and then we try to give them an answer that this is something wrong which you've been thinking, and this is the right way, and it takes a lot of energy, but we are doing it.
How long you're working with here?
It's been almost a decade. 10
Almost a
years.
decade.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're telling about idea of India. May I know what is your idea of India?
Idea of India simply is we all live here happily together. Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, even atheist. Everybody has got an equal space. Everybody has got an equal right and equal opportunity to always be an equal contributor to this nation.
Mehraj ji, what's your view on the current situation in the valley? Let's say you compare it pre-Article 370 dilution and post-Article 370 dilution. Has it made any difference?
Yes.
Second, how do you think is the canvas right now? Because at least externally it appears very calm, a lot of tourism going on, and except for a stray incident here and there, more or less security forces seems to have taken control of it. But a 70-year-old narrative, I don't think it has changed overnight. I somehow feel that it has gone low. Maybe it could come out on some other day. What are your views on it? In terms of, if you can explain the canvas of today's Kashmir, how it is, what are the positives, what are the negatives, what are the threats? If you could do it, you come from a corporate sector,
Yeah.
so maybe you could do a SWOT analysis.
So the question is a very deep question. It has its roots in Valley right now. Since we are discussing it, so I would like to point out certain important points. Prior to 370 removal, the negative forces, the negative elements, the anti-India elements were operating almost everywhere in Kashmir Valley. What Article 370 removal did is immediately shut them off. It was like switch हमारे घर में होता है, switch off. It was as hard as it was. So the negative elements today are afraid of even saying a word. That is the best part that happened. And when people say 370 is about development, about rights of people, about women's rights, I say yes, all that stuff is very good. But for me, the most important part is what Article 370 ended is the ambiguity in the minds of people. The anti-social people, the anti-India elements were trying hard to create that ambiguity all the time through different platforms, through religious platforms, through non-religious platforms, through educational institutions. You would be shocked to hear that. What it ended is they got banned all of a sudden. Banned as in it was a conscious ban. It was not announced, but everybody felt it. That now ab chori nahi kar sakte. Nothing can be said right now. So that ambiguity ended. People of Kashmir realized that we are a part of India. No power on earth can separate us.
Actually, nationalists, most of the nationalists are saying the cultural renaissance and all. But whatever you said, the religious superiority or religious extremism or something like extreme forces have been working since decades in this valley, and disturbing factors are there. How do you handle those? I mean, cultural renaissance and at the same time religious superiority or something like that.
A group had developed in Kashmir, a religious group had developed in Kashmir in the early 70s. That group brought in the religious superiority to Kashmir people. It inculcated, it worked day and night. It was sponsored by Pakistan where they had paid money and kind, all that stuff that can be given to induce that religious superiority and to destroy the culture of Kashmir. That was particularly targeted, and a sentiment was created that you do not belong to the friendship or the relationship with the Hindus. That is why you would see when the 90s happened and the Hindus were attacked. On one side, thousands of people will go attend the funeral of terrorists.
Correct.
But thousands of people could have easily come and protected a Kashmiri Pandit's house.
Correct.
Could have protected a policeman's house, a Muslim policeman's house.
Correct.
But none of that happened because that religious group had induced that idea of inside the minds of people that you do not belong to them, you cannot support them, you cannot save them. So that attack was done on culture. Kashmiri culture was such that my father tells me that one is that you put something by order, government order. Then another thing is by your heart. So the Kashmiri culture was such that when Navratra used to come on, the people would not open their meat shops voluntarily out of love for each other. And when Ramadan would come in, the Kashmiri Pandits would sit together and have Ramadan fast together. That is the culture we had. So that culture was targeted, and the religious Pakistan sponsored religious group, what it did was, its philosophy said, written, I can show you those documents, its philosophy said that culture is not part of religion. And they separated that culture from Kashmiri people. And today what you see is only the body of Kashmir, the soul of Kashmir is not there. That is the culture. So what Article 370 ended was their supremacy. The power, the monetary, NI has successfully raided on so many locations, and so many links are now coming up gradually. How many assets they used to have or even possess right now. Gradually all the secrets are opening up. And we get to know that they were deliberately trying to do this in order to induce the anti-India sentiment amongst the people. So now we are clearly knowing that this thing, after 370 was ended, that group, or in fact all their sister groups which were operating there, they suddenly stopped, and now it is the time for cultural revival. You are here. In fact, prior to you, so many of my friends came here. They came here all with a hope that we Hindus and Muslims will have a life together in Kashmir. So it in itself represents that a cultural revival is there. And then what is the most important part? The most important part is that there was a suppressed population in Kashmir, suppressed by terrorists, suppressed by the Pakistani groups, who wanted to bring a change, who wanted to live together with the Hindus, but they were suppressed. As soon as Article 370 was removed, all of them have found a voice. All of them speak up. You are coming here, I can take you to so many friends. Different people are giving statements. Different people are openly opening up. In fact, Lal Chowk, several people come up and do different kind of programs all together. Lal Chowk, which had earlier become the mark of negativity, today is part of positive sentiments. In fact, the Lal Chowk Ghantaghar is decorated with our Tiranga.
Correct. That's a great thing. Ask you one question, which is like, we came from southern part of India, and rest of the country, everybody feels like Kashmir means the so-called two political families are there. Do you think does this political establishment allow you for this, or will they take part in this revival of cultural things? What are the challenges you are facing? Are you, along with your team, whoever working for the national cause, are you facing any threats or challenges?
When gun is in the wrong hands, that is the terrorists. Obviously, there are going to be challenges. The challenges are so much that your life is under threat as well. But your conscience wants you to work here. Your inner heart pushes you. I used to work with Microsoft. Luxurious. I could have had a luxurious career in Microsoft.
Yes, true.
But there is something pushing us to work here. Yes. And that is our inner conscience. Irrespective of how many threats are there, we continue to work on, and we will continue to work on. Now, coming to the question where you talked about certain political families. Another thing which 370 gave is voice to the new political aspirants. You would see new young boys are coming up with the ideas that we want to contribute towards the political setup of Kashmir.
Okay.
They are also coming up. Lot of new district development chairpersons, lot of new sarpanches. All of them from all of those ranging from 25 to 35 of age. So you
Okay.
see the change is there. People want a new political setup to be here.
Okay.
So now there will be challenges. Obviously, when you're challenging an old line in front of you,
Alright.
the new line will face certain challenges. Old line would have his own people. Old line would have his own setup around every corner of Kashmir. So breaking that setup would be a challenge, but it is a challenge worth fighting for.
Okay.
Let me ask a personal question. Why did you choose to be a nationalist? When it was the normal thing to be anti-Bharat in the valley, where probably all your classmates and peers, you would have seen thousands of these people. What makes you stand out? Why? Because you're coming from the same lot, right? Your grooming is same, your teachers are same, the news that you hear is same, your neighborhood is same, you see anti-India graffiti on all the walls. You didn't come from somewhere outside, you didn't crash land here. You grew up in the same environment. Then why did you choose to be a nationalist? And why not probably an accomplice of Burhan Wani?
The question is very easy. All it requires is a common sense. A friend said few days back that if all the people of the world had common sense, all the problems will go up. So the thing is, you are growing up in this society and you are seeing that your neighbor who was just sitting silently in his home, he was forced to come out. His collar was, he was societally pressured to come out and be part of a stone pelting group, be part of a rally group, which he does not want to be. So is it natural? No, it is not. It is being manufactured. Some people are trying to do it. Then you are seeing a political activist, a sarpanch for that matter, who has got nothing to do with anybody. He is shot suddenly. A few months back, we had an incident. Somebody went into the home of a sarpanch, shot dead him, the sarpanch, and his wife as well. What had the wife done? You saw all these things happening in front of you. Then, what you saw is, again, something which naturally comes onto mind, common sense. There is a group, there is a population which I call soul of Kashmir, that is the Kashmiri Pandits of Valley. They are literally thrown out of Kashmir. Common sense is there that 10,000 people, if they can attend terrorist funeral, can't they protect a Kashmiri Pandit's house? Yes, they can. Why aren't they doing it? So I started asking these questions to myself. Can I think of something else? Is it right? So it is the questioning which makes you a person of either choosing good or bad. And what the Pakistani people try to do, what the Pakistani preachers try to do, is take away that questioning power. In fact, I have seen idiots saying that you cannot question. It is a religious belief. If you question, you are out of the religion. Aapka dharm bhrasht ho gaya. So when such nonsensical things are going on, you ought to think otherwise. And then I was lucky enough that from the very young age, I used to be part of certain debating groups, certain sports groups. I was almost a national debater, and I was a national participant in the skating championship, roller skates. So that gave me an option to move around and see rest of my country. And when I saw rest of my country, I fell in love with it. I'll quote you an incident. I was very young. I had gone to Mumbai after my counseling. We used to have an exam, engineering exam, and for counseling I had gone to Mumbai. It was Ramadan month going on at that point in time. I was living in my father's friend's house. We had Kavita Didi there, and then Kavita Didi's mom also was there. Kavita Didi's mom, who has got nothing to do with Islam, she would wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. She would cook breakfast for me, and I will have that breakfast and do my roza. That was the kind of love I saw with my own eyes. How could I negate that? Somebody else who has got nothing to do with religion, my religion, Islam, she waking up, and that too a very old lady. Kavita Didi's mom would be almost in 60s or 70s at that point in time. So she be making breakfast for me. Or for that matter, when I went to Delhi, I had taken my family there. The landlord They were again a Hindu family. Rakesh uncle was there. We all felt in love with each other so much so that they said my younger sister, she would stay with them and they would make sure that she gets best of the education and everything. And they were so much in love with us. So how could I not have felt with such a great nation?
So when the issues come up which are interreligious, which is what Pakistan plays up, right? Let's say you talk about hijab, you talk about lynching, you talk about beef, or you talk about the riots which happen, Hindu-Muslim riots, akhlaq. There are so many issues they raise up, and they try to say, see, Muslims are not safe in this country. They are being targeted because there is a Hindu extremist, fascist government sitting in Delhi, and you have a Hindu terrorist as a CM in Uttar Pradesh. And they want to change the demographic of Kashmir. This is the cabal that goes on. So, as a Muslim, you must have faced these things in front of you. How was your reaction? And, do you think this is something which probably hurts you also of what is happening? Or do you see that it's one narrative, it's a one-sided narrative, but probably the other part of the story is not spoken about? What are your thoughts on this when these kinds of challenges are thrown at you, especially being a Muslim, living in a country which is probably supposed to be Hindu majority? That's the narrative Pakistan gives, right?
Well, this is a very important question, because I get these questions when I am in my campaigns in Kashmir as well. A lot of Kashmiri youngsters, they throw me these questions, not ask, they throw me out questions. How can you say this thing? They are doing lynching, they are doing this and that. The thing is, if you ask me, whom do you have faith on? I have faith on the Hindu population of this country. Black sheeps are everywhere. When we say lynching, or when we say somebody attacked a temple, when we say somebody desecrated a mosque, or when we say somebody desecrated a temple, a deity in a temple, you do not agree with that incident, and I also do not agree with that.
Correct.
So why are we fighting for? Why are we so tense? If you also are complaining that lynching should not have happened, if I am saying that nobody should have desecrated a temple, that means we are on the same page.
Correct.
That means we are all saying that the culprit should be found out and it should be punished with the greatest of punishments.
Correct.
So there is nothing to worry about. With respect to these few rotten individuals, they do not represent the majority. They only represent a small fraction of people either gaining attention, either crying for attention, or either suffering from a radicalism disease, or maybe trying to get some political space. These can be the major three reasons trying to do it. Otherwise, I've got nothing to worry about. I have put my faith 100% on the Hindus of this country, that whenever a problem comes in, they'll be at my rescue. In fact, when it happened also, I still remember, there were some incidents in Delhi and lynching had happened in UP, and I could constantly see people, Hindu women, Hindu men, Hindu youngsters, Sikh youngsters, Christian youngsters saying that whoever Muslim is in my neighborhood, if he is feeling afraid, he can come and settle down in my home for the couple of days.
Wow.
So that is representative of unity in diversity, which we all are part of.
Wonderful.
So I've got nothing to worry about, and all those people who are worried about it, my same message to you is, you can be 100%, you can have 100% faith on the Hindus of this country. Whenever these 0.1% people try to hurt you, 99.9% will be there to save you. Nothing.
I hope
Sir.
this message reaches Amir Khan and
the total cabal. You have explained beautifully about this religious intolerance kind of fake propaganda. So apart from this,
one thing I want to add on is, what has created this propaganda? Since I'm a computer engineer,
Yes,
so
yes.
I
Go
look
ahead.
at it that way.
Yes.
Algorithms.
Yeah, interesting.
When you see one kind of video once, twice or thrice, your social media feeds automatically gives you a digital personality and starts bombarding you with that relevant videos. Only those videos. So if I'm a Muslim and I have seen lynching videos 2-3 times, it'll keep on bombarding me with those videos repeatedly. So I'll automatically have that fear कि कहीं ये हर जगह तो नहीं हो रहा है. And if you are a Hindu, if you are seeing a temple is being desecrated, you see that video once or twice, you will start getting those videos on your feed 100 times a day.
Correct.
And then you will also start feeling कि यार Muslims तो सारे ऐसे हैं शायद. So I am blaming partly to the propagandists and partly to this digital algorithms which have created this disorder in our society, and we need to find out certain ways to cure this disease as well.
People are using those algorithms in a proper
And
way.
when I am in Kashmir, I say this one particular thing. Aghlaq may have died once in UP, but he has died 1 lakh times on my social media.
True. Yeah, apart from this religious fake propaganda, we have observed some more like government issues also. When we speak to the Kashmiri people who are working in hotels or in guest houses and all, they have an opinion like अगर बिजली नहीं है तो बिजली तो पूरा हिंदुस्तान को लेके जा रहा है, हम लोगों को नहीं है इधर. ऐसा that fakery is there in their minds actually. I mean, lot of if there is no road connectivity means roads तो इधर नहीं है. रोड बनाए तो वो मुफ्ती साहब किया, लेकिन वो अब्दुल्ला साहब किया, वो गवर्नमेंट में हुआ. लेकिन रोड नहीं है तो वो हिंदुस्तान नहीं कर रहे. ऐसा सोच है ज़्यादातर लोगों को. हाउ डू यू हैंडल दिस? And they have been brainwashed since so many years, right? So how do you handle this as an activist and an educationalist? How do you handle and how do you manage and how do you convince the people of Kashmir?
The thing is, you have to understand the role of Pakistan here. It has deliberately spread misinformation and disinformation here. Every day, since I'm a social media junkie, so I know every day I see 100 to 200 fake pages propping up on different social media platforms. On Facebook, on Twitter. So who is creating those pages? Pakistan is sitting there creating those fake pages, creating those fake narratives, they deliberately create photographs which are so emotional to the people that as soon as they see it, they feel burst of emotions. They either get angry, they will get sad, or they get stressed. So that you have to understand that whenever you meet a Kashmiri, you are not meeting a Kashmiri. You are meeting a guy who has been indoctrinated physically on ground, spiritually in a religious place, and digitally in the digital space as well.
Yes.
So the answer to all of these questions is statistics. Thermal power plants, hydroelectric power plants, we've got solar power plants, we've got so many type of power plants across our country. If we have more than 5,000 power plants in our country, small and larger scale, how would the 20 projects of Kashmir run the whole electricity of India? मतलब जो ये कहते हैं कि कश्मीर का सारा इलेक्ट्रिसिटी इंडिया में you have 4,990 power projects. How significant is the 20 projects of Kashmir? So this is a misinformation which has been spread. And then you also have to see that there was a time when the government of Kashmir did not had enough salary to pay to its government employees. Forget about the development projects.
Okay.
Who helped the state at that point in time?
Okay.
All the funds kept on coming from the government of India. So literally, मुझे government of India पाल रही थी. Literally, funds were flowing from Kashmir, from rest of the country to Kashmir, and my houses, my villages, my cities were running on that money. Because terror-infested place, it had no source of active money, no taxable, no industries running on and giving taxes. So every money all the time flowed in from India. So we have to understand India as a country, our country has brought us up. And how can we say it is looting us? It is all a misinformation, and we have to come up with statistics. Tell them that 5,000 projects चल रहे हैं, किसने खाए? Tell them national highways, the funds are released by central government. Tell them government का क्या role आ गया इसमें? Tell them simply one thing, that if crores and crores of funds come in, and my school does not have a wall even today, 2022, who is responsible? Either the today's government or the government which has eaten it up for the past 70 years.
Yes.
So the funds were always being pumped in by my country. Your taxed money was being eaten up by me. So if agar accountability ka sawal hai, that falls onto the part of the government of that time, not to the people of our country.
Okay.
You are also an educationalist, so let's talk a little bit on education part of it. One thing I observed, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I believe Kashmiri language is something which was not taught in many schools earlier. Maybe now it's taught just as a language, not much, I suppose. And Kashmiri language is not a lingua franca in the official communication. It's Urdu and English. So the Kashmiri language itself is probably a challenge, because we in our states we have a lot of schools which in Telugu medium schools we have. I'm not too sure whether you have Kashmiri medium schools or not. So same goes with other areas, like for instance Gurez you have Sheena. I don't think there is any school which is teaching Sheena. So education wise, how is it that your education system has disconnected you from your core Kashmiri roots? Be it syllabus, be it content, be it language that has been used, and these kinds of stuff. What was the contribution of education in the situation of Kashmir, and has anything changed in the recent past as you observe it?
So first of all, I'll again start with the positive thing, that despite all the difficulties, despite all the problems, despite all the corruptions which happened, and despite all the lack of facilities, Kashmir has given some of the most brilliant people in different sectors across our country. It has produced doctors from AIMS, it has produced IITians, it has produced army men, it has produced brilliant policemen, IPS officers, and it has produced so many people across the, so we must congratulate Kashmiris for that as well. Now coming on to the question, particularly Kashmiri language, as I said that there was a propaganda run where culture was cut from the people. It was particularly said that culture and religion cannot go hand in hand. So then you have to understand that a person who is growing up in such a narrative, such a propaganda, who is growing up, for example, propaganda starts in 70s, by the time 90s comes in, this 25-year-old, 30-year-old guy is a teacher. He'll go to the school, book may say anything, but he'll produce some negativity, he'll tell some negative things to the students in front of him. So there was a time when people realized that we need to come and catch hold of our culture. And that was the time it was discussed that culture isn't. So then it was discussed that we need to go to our roots. And what are our roots? The 5,000 year, 7,000 year old civilization, where Kashmiri language is a part of it. In fact, Kashmiri Pandits were one of the greatest scholars of the Hindu Dharma as well.
Correct.
So that was the time it was realized, and Kashmiri language became part of majority of the schools here. Okay. Otherwise it was there, but in limited schools. Then it became regular part of the schools here. Okay. And it was felt that in order to remain connected to the culture, this is to be there.
Kashmiri language textbooks. Do you have Kashmiri language textbooks, or it's just it is taught as a language alone? I'm saying, let's say your maths, science, are they taught in Kashmiri, or you just got one language called Kashmiri language?
So currently we have got multiple subjects, and Kashmiri language is part of that subject. School may be English medium school altogether, everything else being taught in English, but Kashmiri language would be a subject of Kashmiri.
But it's not a medium of instruction for other subjects. Either it's Urdu or it is English.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about, I think one more thing I'll ask about the role of mothers. Right? This is something which Christine Fair, she's an associate professor of Columbia University. I'm sure you would have read about her or seen her videos. She wrote an article on the role of mothers in radicalization, Fidains who come from Bahawalpur, Punjab and all these places, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. She said mothers are very happy that their sons committed this act of Fidain, and they say that we get a higher elevated spot in Jannat because of my son's act. So I'm very happy for him. So when mothers are radicalized, what can you expect? So here there is a lot of people have asked me, when the stone pelters are going and throwing stones, why are the mothers not stopping it? Police will react, pellet guns will hit, bullets will hit. So the death of a child is projected, and they make a hay of it, they make a big noise about it. But what's the role of the mother? Why is the mother keeping quiet? Is the mother happy that her son is going and throwing stones? Or did she try but she is powerless? What is the role of Kashmiri mothers in whatever is happening? Why is she not pushing them to the school? Why is she not pushing them to do something more creative, positive? What's her role in the upbringing of the child?
Yes. Again, you have to understand this thing deeply. First thing is, when a person is radical, when a person has chosen the path of extremism, there is a high chance that he would not listen to anybody. In fact, the radical person is so radical that if the parents try to stop him, he'll go against them and shun them off. That is the primary thing which needs to be kept in mind. Second thing is, as I said, that Operation Topak, it was a full-fledged attack on the integrity of India by Pakistani forces internally, secretly, where they indoctrinated the entire generation. So when a generation, both males and females, are indoctrinated at the early age of 10 years of age, so by the time in 90s they would become parents, they'll also be feeling the same things. I won't say all of them, but a large number of them would be feeling the same things. So there have been instances where mothers have also said these things, that we are proud of that son is a radical. But at the same time, there have been mothers who have abused and ridiculed the terrorists. And they have said they have destroyed our families, they have destroyed our culture, they have destroyed our Kashmir, and they are destroying our whole nation. And our son should shun militancy and should come back. So you see, both the examples are here and right in front of us. That is why I say common sense is important. So despite that mother is also part of the same community, same land, same situation. But she has the common sense to understand that her son is wasting his life and he needs to come back. So she tries to tell her. And unfortunately, I have seen with my own eyes a son telling his mother that, "Oh mother, I cannot listen to you. Because this is my first priority, I have to pelt stones and go there." So the situation is complicated and it requires very well thought of individual steps, both long-term steps and certain short-term steps, in order to resolve the problems which we are facing in Kashmir.
Do you find any change in Kashmiri society on the defense forces? Basically, armed forces, they just used to oppose the armed forces previously, right? So, do you find any change in these days, in recent times?
There is a major change. In fact, I can say it is upside down now.
Okay.
Earlier, what used to happen is leaders here, they did not know how to take action, what to do, what not to do, where to put restrictions, where not to put restrictions. Because putting restrictions is also important, and identifying a place where restrictions are not important, that is also to be identified. After Article 370 was abrogated, the Government of India, especially our Honorable PM and the Home Minister, they were smart enough to understand what is to be done. Okay. And that is why you'll see, on one hand, there is a situation when one government is in Jammu and Kashmir and 2016 happens. And hundreds of people lose their lives or lose their eyesight by pellets. And at the same time, when 100 times bigger step is taken, 370 is to be abrogated. Security forces have planned everything in advance, and the planning is so beautiful that not even a single life is lost. So that is the best compliment that a person, that a force, that a government can get, that not even a single life was lost while making such a big decision. Great. That is an important thing, and that created a change. Okay. And today the change is more than knocking the doors of the local administration. The people of Kashmir will knock onto the doors of their local major, army major, the army colonel, the army major general, and they'll tell them their problems. That we are facing them problems, please help us out.
Oh, okay.
That is how much the situation has changed. Today, the relationship has become the relationship of faith, relationship of trust, and the relationship of looking up to. That if nobody is helping me, the army will help me out, the police will help me out, the CRPF will help me out. That is the kind of notion which is developing gradually. So you see, something which the previous governments, the previous leaders would not even have thought of has happened today. So this is a positive change.
And I want to ask you one question, which is politically corrective things are happening right now, which is assembly delimitation is in the process, right? So assembly delimitation, and at the same time, this Gupkar gang is still making some noise on newspapers and whatever the Delhi elite media is covering their opinions, right? They are not interested in people like you, basically. I want to understand the political establishment and the developments in recent times. Even the decisions which have been taken by the government of India, like assembly delimitation process and all. How do you look at it? And the election process, how do you explain about that election process? Will it prevail or not?
Currently, if we talk about delimitation, as I said, Article 370 ended the ambiguity in the minds of people.
Okay.
So this delimitation has to be a part of that.
Okay.
All those people who are opposing it, they do not understand its essence. That is the reason they are opposing it. And for a politician, what matters is votes.
Okay.
So when they see their constituencies are changing, the new region which is coming on or the new region which is not there, they feel like they'll lose votes. And one of the reasons they are making too much of noise is one of these. So they do not understand that taking care of the internal integrity, internal security of the country is more important than one's personal votes, than one personal chair or the political ambition. They have to understand it. And as I said previously, when the old lion feels like he's losing a part of his jungle, he feels like he has to attack it, he has to make noise about it, and that will continue for some time. But we know it, the people know it, and I hope you know it now, that it is for the greater good of Kashmir, and it is for the integration of the hearts of people with each other, irrespective of religion, that this step has to be taken, and has to be taken as soon as possible.
Let's talk about forces again. Previous visits, I used to see a massive security cordon everywhere. There used to be a Jawan standing at a shouting distance of the next one, and he was completely, armed, completely helmet, completely in full gear with bulletproof vest. It was literally carpet bombed, right? This I saw definitely before Article 370. I did see that. Of course, post Article 370, when we came in 2 months, you won't expect things to have changed drastically. But this visit, strangely, I see very little presence of forces. Most of the areas, they are there, but it's not to the extent that I saw before. Second, when this incident in Latipura, which happened, which wrongly they call it as Pulwama attack. It didn't happen in Pulwama, but it happened in Latipura. I strongly believe it is because they wanted to save the saffron industry there from taint. But anyway, after that attack happened, security forces had put some conditions. They said alternate days civil and military convoys would go. So from Jammu, you only had 3 days in a week, and the rest of the 4 days army convoys used to go. Now, of course, that is also changed. All day civilians can go. And we see a lot of fencing that they put across so that people don't come with cars from the lanes, and they did a lot of stuff. But I see significant confidence in the armed forces, what was lacking prior to Article 370. You have been interacting with the government, with forces to in certain extent. You have been in communication with them. What is your reading of how the security forces have considered this situation, and how have they changed from then now, and what do you think is going on?
As I said, that we have to understand that the role of security forces is to find wherever there is terrorism and get rid of the terrorists. That is what their whole role is. After 370 was revoked, there were certain pockets in Kashmir Valley which had a lot of influence of terrorists. But there were other pockets which did not have that influence. So obviously security forces realized that there is no point of coming out and standing in front all the time. So when they realized that the security situation in these particular areas has improved, so they decided to go back in the camps, and that is why you do not see them there. And even if you see wherever they are, it is only on certain sensitive points, because they are the points where usually terrorists cross over. That is why there are too many checkpoints at that point in particular places on those pockets. Otherwise, if you come from north of Kashmir towards the south, you will see in the north there is a minuscule presence of the security forces, because it is felt that the security situation has improved, and that is why the negative people, the anti-India elements, they are trying hard to even radicalize and worse, try to create havoc in that situation. But security forces and the administration knows its job how to be done. So you would see the presence is very less there. When you come to Srinagar, if you would have roamed around, you would have seen there is hardly any presence here in the city. So that is the full funda of it. The situation improves, they go back in. The situation worsens, they come out. It is all for the people, for the protection of the people, to avoid, to remove the terrorists from the places.
Yeah, comparatively, the previous government have not given the free hand to security forces. Now, the present government of India have given the free hand to the security forces, and they are into the eliminating of terrorism and extreme forces and all. And the government of India is totally focused on developmental aspects and reforms, which you are telling about. No, do you, as a social activist and an educationalist and a Kashmiri Muslim person, I mean, you represent the exact Kashmir, right? So, do you find any gaps in between, or do you have any appeal to the government of India to change in their actions or something like that? Do you find this implementation of the ideas and taking decisions, is it everything smooth, or do you find anything is not correct?
When we talk about developmental things, when I move on roads this time, I see everybody talking about roads, because even the places which did not have roads previously, especially after the Article 370 was removed, and especially now when we have Honorable Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha ji, we have seen things move at a very fast pace. All the people who had not seen road in their villages or inside their lanes, even they have roads at the present times. Of course, nothing is 100%. We need to move on. If we are currently at 70%, we need to move towards 80, towards 90. So that is what is happening at a very fast pace. I see the infrastructure is improving. I see the administrative setup is improving day by day. I see government is trying hard to introduce e-governance and the digital schemes through which the people will have ease of access of everything. So I see a lot of good hope in the coming times. And when you say, is it happening? I mean, you are here. That simply signifies that it is happening. And you have been talking to me and you have not complained once since we started interacting. So that means something has happened. That is a sign in itself. Otherwise, you would have asked that I have not seen road in that place. I have not seen electricity in that place. So you would have complained that, but the complaint is not there. So that means something has happened.
You have any appeal to the government?
Appeal is that
and rest of the country also. You can give a message to the rest of the country also.
Yeah.
From Kashmir.
So my message to all my 130 crore people is that Kashmir loves you. You also love Kashmir. Let us always meet each other. Let us always talk to each other. Let us increase the interactions, because it is these interactions which will bridge the gap which exists, which the anti-India elements have tried to create. And only when we interact, we bridge these gaps. So let us keep interacting. Let us keep focusing on the good part, and all the negativity which exists, let us not even discuss about it. Yeah, we have to complain. Let us complain it internally. Let us tweet and tag the local police, the local administration to resolve those negative things. But let us not talk about it. Let us only talk about the positive things so that our connections grow in a positive way. Because if we keep complaining, there is some sort of negativity is left around. Wherever we see negative things, complain about it, and wherever it is not there, let us talk of the positive things.
Okay.
My last question would be, what is the road ahead in terms of, let's say you have to put 3 or 4 top things that you want things to happen. Probably a lot of good things are happening, like what you suggested, be it armed forces, be it administration, infrastructure. A lot of good things are happening. Article 370 removal has done some lot of good things. But then, probably, according to you, let's say 3 or 4 top on your mind, what should be done beyond what is actually happening now for us to secure more enduring peace here and change the current 70-year narrative to something which is pro-nation?
There are many things because you see, when we talk about perfection, you always have scope for improvement. So I appreciate the government of India for doing all the good things it has done, but there is a scope for a lot of things. The primary thing is Kashmir has a lot of scope for adventure tourism. I think government needs to look into that, how adventure tourism can be increased to a large scale. And why do we have New Zealand as the adventure tourism hub? Why not Kashmir? When we have all the mountains and all the stuff which is required. Or wherever things are lacking, how can we fasten them up? Adventure tourism would be one. Second thing is, there is a lot of hope amongst the youngsters, where a lot of young generation is taking the lead. We have seen youngsters coming in, becoming sarpanches. We have seen youngsters coming in, taking the lead into politics. So there is a lot of hope amongst the youngsters. My appeal to the government is that whenever they talk to the tall leaders of the state, of UT currently, whenever they talk to them, they should also talk to the new youngsters. Because there are some insights which youngsters know better rather than the age-old politicians. Whenever some important decisions are to be taken, these new youngsters, the new emerging energetic youth needs to be taken on board so that important decisions which pertain to their life, their future as well, are increased, and a holistic approach comes in, because the old politicians can only do old politics. The new generation needs something new, especially after the abrogation of 370. A lot of new things are required. So my appeal to the government would be to take on board, maybe organize a mega meeting with the youngsters, where the Honorable PM, the Honorable Home Minister meets the youngsters and has a one-to-one meeting with them and talks to them their heart out, so that new policies can be framed accordingly.
Right. Thank you very much, Mehraj ji. I can see future of Kashmir in your eyes. You are the representative of the Kashmir youngsters' mind, and at the same time, you will be an inspiration to the next generations. I'm that for sure. So I hope I wish you all the best, and we will work together as a nationalist. Definitely. This is a proud organization, Nationalist Hub. I can say this proudly that we are bringing the positiveness of Kashmir and positive thoughts of Kashmiri people, and hope we will have a good discussion at Hyderabad also.
Definitely.
Personally, we will invite you for that.
Thank you very much.
Somewhere. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Please subscribe to Nationalist Hub English channel for more interesting videos, and don't forget to like and share this video. Nationalist Hub, it's a news revolution.